Today you're going to learn about how you can raise money from like the biggest giants and still things cannot work in your favor, or your presentation can land in the inbox of one of the richest man of the world, and you can build retail tech for them. Thank you so much, Farooq, for coming to our episode of Behind Closed Doors. So we know you are the co-founder of Fynd. We know what all you have achieved, but we want to start from the beginning. So why don't you tell us about your journey before you shifted to India?
Okay. So I was born and brought up in Kuwait. I did my schooling over there till 10th. And after that, I moved to India, to Bangalore specifically. I was maybe in 7th or 8th grade when I kind of realized I want to go to India to study a set of colleges called IIT.
So engineering was an obvious choice for you since the beginning?
Yes. I don't know how that became a choice. But I think very young, maybe in 96, 1998, when Windows was starting to become a big thing and Microsoft was going to become a big thing, right? And all you would read was how Bill Gates is the world's richest man and how people are buying Windows. And I kind of started figuring out,
how to become the world's richest man?
How do you become the world's richest man, right? And we have to understand, if you come from very humble middle class backgrounds, right? We don't have assets which we can leverage to raise capital or any of that sort. So software or writing software was the only obvious thing to do. I think I started writing code maybe in 1998 when I kind of made a website for some school as a school competition. And I don't think we won or anything, but that was my first kind of brush with writing software. And, in those days, there was a bunch of these things that don't even exist today. Right, CGI Bin, Dreamweaver, and all of those tools. That's how I started my kind of development career.
So, did you get paid for this when you did?
Oh no, it was a bunch of friends who I'm not in touch with anymore. But I remember we got together and made this website and all sort of random animations and what is it called, marquee and all of that we put together in that website and made a jazzy website.
Exams are a big thing in part of Indian parents' life also, as well as the child's life. So Indian parents are more anxious कि अरे उसका बेटा कर लिया, उसका मेरे क्या होगा, because not now, I don't know now, but back then I think most of the parents had zero faith on their children.
After 12th, I think I remember having a short conversation with my dad, and he asked me, why do you even want to go to IIT? And that time I had some Business World, Business Insider or something, some of these magazines, and I showed him all the leaders, all the business leaders and what they had studied. So either they had gone to IIT or they had gone to IIM. I said, this is the reason why I want to go there, because there seems to be something which creates future leaders. He said, okay. So he said, and he understood that. And he said, okay, so what do you want? So I said, I just need 70,000 rupees, 50,000 rupees I'll put in the college course, or 30,000 I'll put in college course, and the remaining I'll spend X number of money for the next one. And that's all. And it was that sort of a...
So which IIT did you get into?
I went to IIT Bombay.
Was that your first choice of college in terms of IIT?
Yeah.
You always wanted IIT Bombay?
Yes.
Okay. Initially, when this bubble of e-commerce and the tech business part started in India, most of the founders were getting funding because of IIT and IIM tag also, right? So what happens in IIT? Let me just ask you that.
Not much, but a lot also.
We will come to some stories, some juicy bit that you did in IIT, which I know about, which our audience will also know about. But why don't you tell me how it like ragging hoti hai wahan pe?
Nice. So, okay. So, right. I pack my bags from Bangalore, land up in Bombay, take a cab, go to IIT. So I landed in the main gate and I said, this is my admission letter or whatever. So I said, which hostel? I said, abhi tak hostel ka kuch allotment nahi hota. So they said, go to the main building where the hostel allocations are happening. So I go over there and I give them my letter and I say, which hostel do I need to go to? They said, we are still making the
list
allocation. So I said, what is your roll number? Show me. So they saw that, this is what are my roll numbers. So, iska ho gaya. So this department we have done, right? It was 03. So it's one of the earlier departments. They said, you have to go to H5. Your room number is 40. Said. So he told 40 and I heard 14 for some reason, right? I landed up in the room, I realized there is no light and there is nothing. Then I asked someone, what's the deal? I said, you have to get your own tube light, you have to get your own balti and you have to get everything. I said, fine. And then that's what I did. I kept my bag over there and I had to get a lock also. I mean,
you have to lock your room.
Lock your room also. So I went over there and bought a mattress, a balti, a tube light and things like that. And I went and cleaned up the room. And then Rati Bhai, who is kind of not the mess manager, but he used to run the canteen. He comes knocking, hey, tera room 14 nahi hai.
So
40 hai.
So you buy all these things.
Then I take all this stuff.
So you've been like traveling and traveling and traveling.
And then I go to room number 40 and then of course I am chilling
there for the next.
Over there. And then next day is the induction. I go over there. And then now these people have come for the first time and I've been around for the next few days. So I'm taking them around and showing them places.
Oh, so you're like, yeah, idhar ka boss main hi hu.
Right.
And you're like the king.
No,
king
I'm telling people, how to go about doing it. And of course, from there, a bunch of them are very close friends now.
Did you work post IIT or you just started building
your...
Yeah,
of course. Got placed from campus itself.
Day one?
Yeah.
The job didn't work out for you?
No, I had a great time working for them.
How long did you work?
Almost 4.5 years I worked with them. It was a great company. I learned a lot of things.
Which was this company?
It's called Opera Solutions.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's the same name it exists or not, but yeah, it was a great experience. It started as a consulting company. My role was initially as a business consultant. Then I morphed into big data analytics. So a bunch of things which I learned in that company we continue to apply today in Fynd as well.
So how did Fynd happen? So was it always Fynd or Shopsense, right?
So we incorporated the company as Shopsense in 2012.
And who is this we?
So Harsh and me.
You met Harsh at IIT?
I don't think I remember meeting him at campus. I met him first time I think when I went for campus placements. And we were hiring for Opera, and I think 2 years after I graduated, we went for campus. I was part of the campus team, so that's when I went, and I didn't interview him per se, but I was part of the team that was going to convince high potential candidates to convert, right? So
to join Opera.
Yeah, because it's a very competitive process, right? Multiple companies are around. I'm sitting and explaining to him, why he should join. The thing that you can achieve here significantly more than what you would have got. And I don't know if he had a competing offer or not, but that's how I convinced him and one more person and one girl.
Being a fashion fanatic, right? I've heard about Coos, I've heard about Myntra, I've heard about Jabong, but never Fynd, right? So is that something that bothered you?
No, we hired you to ensure that the world understood what Fynd was.
So you opened a fashion store and you didn't know about fashion.
No, so I think it's a very interesting evolution, right? We started the company as Shopsense, and prior to that, the company as a construct was called Ad Sale, right?
Okay.
And it started as, we're going to give recommendations at the point of sale or in the shopping journey of an offline store, just the way you get recommendation when you're buying online, right? So we're going to see where you're moving around, what you're buying, what else you have bought, and kind of pop around these other suggestions, right? And the recommendation system of Amazon was kind of the inspiration, right? But we wanted to do it in the offline world, and that's why you called it ad sale, right? You're adding an additional sale, I think, and that was the original incorporation name of the company as well.
Back in
2012.
Okay.
Right. And once we and this was when the idea came across, was it started with a simple problem that we saw, right? Companies had lots of data in the offline space, but didn't really use it the way internet companies were using it.
Has it changed now?
There's a significant change since then, but simply because how online world is, you can't do a lot of things the way online does it, but offline has found its own own moat of why it exists, and it continues to be strong. So back to Shopsense. So when we started this idea, we had kind of made a small prototype. We left our job actually to start working in the healthcare space, right? And we felt that was a need that needed the most amount of technology. And we started talking to a bunch of doctors, pharmacies, diagnostic chains, to kind of put in our software. at that point, we were looking at companies like Practo of what they were doing. When we were looking at a few companies in the US, I forget their name, of how they were digitizing this whole EHR, EMR space, and we thought we could bring that electronic health records in India as well.
How did fashion come in the picture?
Yeah, because we had ad sale as an idea at the side, and then one fine day, I'm sitting in Harsha's house and we're not getting anything. We said, let's go and pitch this, and we had met a senior of mine, Akshay, and we showed him what he had done. So he said, you have something ready, go and pitch. And we said, fine, let's at least start doing that. And we walked around whole of the Juhu Tara road, and we first went to an Anita Dongre store, and two guys in rainy season walking into Anita Dongre store, right? You can't do much, right? There's only so much you can false pretend. And next to that, there was the diesel store, and then I walk into the diesel store, and then someone turns up and says, what would you want? And I don't think we even pretended that you wanted to buy jeans or something, and we just looked at the prices of jeans, and it just didn't make sense. I think
do you own a diesel jeans now?
Oh yeah, I
you do.
I do now.
Okay.
And I didn't even know it was a Reliance entity. I didn't even know that. So we were there, and then I started talking about this idea, and then he turned out to be a management trainee who said, "Oh, my head of CRM is also here. Why don't you show this idea to him?" And then we showed them idea to him, and he said, "Why don't you come to Cuff Parade where our office is, and you can come and pitch it to our head of business."
Yeah.
They will. And we said, sure, let's go. So Harsh and me, we went and showed him something. But before we did that, we said, let's go and show them something which is made specifically for diesel. So we needed to get a designer on board. And that's when Harsh looked around on Behance and said, okay, let's look at designers. And then he said, okay, best filter or best designer, and turned out to be in Bombay, or best designer in Bombay or something like that. And we found, okay, there is this guy called Sri Raman, and he's got a portfolio on Behance. So we said, okay, sure, let's go and meet him. And he's staying somewhere in Sion or somewhere. So we said, let's go and meet him. And we give him the idea, we explain it to him. He's also studying in IIT Bombay. I said, oh wow, IIT, bye. So he said, fine, okay, I said, this is what we want to do. And that is when, skeuomorphism was a thing. He said, why don't you make a skeuomorphic...
Can you tell us, because we don't know what that is?
Right, it's a design which actually looks like the real object in the world moved in, right? If there's a radio, if you have a radio app, the radio app will have the knobs as how you would have it in a real radio. So, and that's how the first few versions of Apple design were. I said, okay, let's make skeuomorphic. Right? That seems to be a thing. So we made a nice design of a diesel UI of what it needs to be. And what we realized at that point of time, and this is something we used to do in our consulting days also, that if you print out something, right, people almost believe it's true or it's real. So what we did was we took that, and put it on some A3, A4, A2 size printouts and high quality prints, and we said, let's go and show it. And we called it the big paper trick, right? And when you kind of pitch with that, people can kind of now imagine your idea so much better. So we pitched to the diesel so that we put this large screen where people can come and play around all your products, and you can mix and match. And that's what product was called, mix and match, right? It's called Shopsense Match. And you can look at products which are not in store. You can create these virtual avatars, and you can do a.
And what is selected?
Said, sure, why don't you do a POC? I think that from Deval is probably the most generous act which culminated in this large organization today.
Do you think luck plays an important role in any startup?
I have full faith in that universe works in its in its divine mystery, and I don't know how we are going to reach where we are going to reach. All we need to do is take the step, right? And
so then happen. You got your first client, which was diesel. It's all big, it's all huge, right? And I think I can just look at you and I can visualize that you're thinking about the past. But Farooq, no funding again. Why not?
No. So after we did that, we raised a. So yes, that's where missing the timing of the market kind of starts adding up. So we were talking to K Capital then, so Harsh knew Sasha, the founder of the fund, and again a great supporter for Fynd for many years, from his ESL days at IIT Bombay. We said, this is what we want to do, and because he knew we came from opera and he was a big investor in Fractal, so he knew sort of pedigree we had, and at that point of time, it was primarily a bet on people, right? And we told him this is what we want to do. He said, why don't you come to my office, meet my team, and explain your idea? And we said, sure, this is what we want to do. And we said, we're also doing this pilot with the diesel store in Palladium, and they were just waiting for us to deploy it, put it in the store. And at that point of time, Capillary was being created, and Capillary was kind of the poster boy of a SaaS company. I think they had raised a massive 10 million round. So that was kind of becoming, right, India's B2B SaaS is going to be.
Does that company still exist?
Yeah, of course. And Anish is an acquaintance / friend, and we don't talk as much, but I think we've done a bunch of deals together. So we said, okay, fine. Capillary is on the loyalty end. We'll be in the in-store engagement, in-store ordering, in-store order management. That's the sort of place we want to be. We started building it, and in this is like 2013, 14, and then when we go to the market, and we've probably launched this and put it in a bunch of brands. Being Human was a large brand for us. We had put in Nike, and we started working with the Nike stores, but they had a very different ask, right? They wanted us to move from an interaction screen into an order system, right? You could now place orders between our stores, right? So that was a kind of a new business case for us, but it was now a more valuable use case for us. And Sasa used to keep saying this, just listen to your customers. And if you kept listening to your customers, you will get your answer.
That's one of your motto, right?
Also. Just listen to your customers.
Customer is king.
Pay, customer is king. And then 2014, when we started going around talking to investors, and we're showing them, what we're building, and this is the number of concept stores and concept brands that we have, and we had a sizable 120 stores in which we had deployed our. It was a tough sell, but we somehow went about selling it. In 2014, when we started selling, and we started raising, that's when we started getting feedback from all investors, right? You have to think of mobile, you have to think of app, you can't do this.
So did KE Capital end up investing in Fynd?
Oh yeah, in every round. I mean, they wrote us our first institutional check multiple times in between when we needed bridge rounds. They were the first one to write that check. I think Sasha, K Capital have been our strongest support forever, right? I mean,
that's awesome. What happened post that? Like mobile app, what happened?
So in 2014, we're getting a bunch of feedback from customers, right? So first, not from one of customers, from investors, right? And we are pitching them as an interaction tool. Then some people are thinking of it as a data play, that we'll be able to get more data, and all of these random metaphors. Data is the new oil, and when we repitch it as we're going to get a lot of these data signals of what customers are liking before they make their purchase, right? And now for that we need to make a tool which will show them. If we had the tool, we'll be able to raise that money. So we create something called Beat, which allows you to kind of see what's happening.
So you created something called Beat?
Yeah, the tool is called Beat, right? And its role was you could click and see, what customers are buying. And so what we wanted to show with that tool was, based on what people are seeing, what transaction happening, and we're trying to correlate it and tell it to the store, we are giving you an uplift, right? One of the questions we could constantly get is, does engagement actually give conversions or not? So we said, we'll get your POS data, we'll get this, and we did all sort of fuzzy maths to kind of show it. But I think the real proof started coming in when we did Nike deployment, where we were actually placing orders for products which were not in the store, and it was in some other store, and they would do a local fulfillment. And the e-commerce infrastructure was kind of still coming together, right? It's not as mature as what it is now, and this is pre-Geo. there's not even as many
Customers
smartphones or
online.
phones which are enabled with high-speed internet. I think 3G was the band then. Right? I don't think we had 4G also then. So we kept hearing in 2014, this is you need to make an app. I said fine. So in one of our very early visions of what we want to did, we said, if we had enough stores on our network, right? If we had enough stores who were giving us real time data, we could create something which would enable you to shop those products while sitting at your home, right? So that as an idea always existed, and we said, we can think about that as an idea, but we had always kind of parked it. But then we went up to Sasha one fine day and we said, this business, even though it's there and it's doing well, there are two fundamental problems with it. It is not internet scalable, right? I can't, become really large very quickly. I need to go sale by sale by sale by sale. Plus, each of my deployments requires me to do all sort of these customizations for these brands, and there's no end to that. And this is before, as a team, as a company, we had figured out how to build a platform, right? After in 2014, when we realized, this is not scaling for those two reasons, we said, okay, fine, let's go to the whiteboard and see, what does the world want, right? This is early 2015, and then the team by then, a large part of the team has been poached by the other hyper-funded startups of Bombay, right? And they were all in one building, and then again run by IIT Bombay people, and they were giving all sort of obscene salaries, and fresh graduates, getting 18-20 lakh rupee offers, right? And then we are trying to give our engineering lead some 12-15 lakh rupees, and that is also beyond what we can kind of pay in the budgets that we had. So we said, let's go to the whiteboard and figure out what it works. And we looked at all sort of ideas. We said, there's no car rental setup in India. Should we have like a car rental setup? And in the US, there's Hertz, there's Orbit, there's a bunch of these companies. Is that a business? And then we looked at, is subscription business is a thing, right? That people want subscription socks or subscription grocery. Is that a business? We thought. And then a bunch of other ideas we thought about. And in the end, we realized, we are going to do only what we're good at. And what are we good at? We are good at, working with data. We're good at systems engineering. We are good at application building, and we are good at working with retailers, and specifically fashion retailers. And 2050 early, all of a sudden apps are getting hyper funded, and valuations have also kind of risen. So we said we're going to pivot. We're not going to just do a normal pivot. We're going to do a complete brand pivot also. And then we said, okay, we're going to have a massive naming exercise, a bunch of people in the company, and every evening we're sitting and trying to figure out what a new name.
This is your pivot from Shopsense.
Yeah, from Shopsense, right? So, and the name also, is kind of, in the end, was decided almost in a fight, right? So there's a bunch of interviews I'm trying to build a new team, and we've raised fresh capital. We have created we've recapped our company, so we have raised capital now to build a team who wants to develop this. The aim was that we're going to build a hyper local shopping app, right? So from there you can able to buy anywhere. And what of things that we thought about, if it's a consumer company, it should be a small name, right? It has to be a single syllable. It needs to be cool, and so on and so forth. So we had all sort of names, right? And people would kind of give it names. And I think there was a Twill, and then there was a Fynd, and there was something else. And every evening we were supposed to sit and decide. And there's an event happening in the team. And one day when I have this meeting, there's Harsh, me, SMG, and I think someone else was there, and they said, okay, what are we deciding? And I had not done anything because I was busy with interviews throughout the day, so I didn't get time to do it. Then Harsh was like, this is important. Why are you not doing it? And I said, there's only physically so much I can do. But if you don't believe me, I'm not doing any work, then fine, you decide whatever you want. Then I left that meeting and went and opened a dictionary. I said, let me flip the pages of dictionary so that I'll land up with some page. And I think that's how Twitter was also named. I remember reading that story that day. They kind of flipped and they found tweet, and then that's how they made Twitter or something like that. So I said, I'll also flip a dictionary. I had a big fat dictionary. I think it's lying somewhere in the office today. And then SMG comes and saying that we are taking Fynd and we have the domain GoFind. I said, I should go ahead.
So then GoFind was born.
And that's how GoFind was born. And so initially we used to I mean, now we can call it Fynd, and a lot of people call it Fynd, but all sort of, Fynd, and later on we realized, Fynd means deal in Finnish or something. And then initially when we had launched our app and it was across the world, we used to get a lot of these installs from all over the world. And I said, why are we getting all of these installs? I said, because it meant deal in some language. And then we made it India only, and we launched it on October 20th, 2015 as a hyperlocal shopping app for Bombay.
And when 2016 happened?
And 2016.
What did your hyperlocal app work?
Yeah, we did. We got a very interesting bunch of hyperlocal features. We got a few hour delivery at that point in time. We had a.
You did quick commerce before quick commerce was famous.
Yes. Right. No, but there was grocers then. They were doing it.
Only grocery.
They were only doing grocery. We thought we'll kind of do it for fashion, and we said we will kind of do it slightly differently. We will give open packs. We'll allow multiple sizes. We will allow a very generous no ask return policy, and a bunch of things. When you're naive of what it requires to create a fundamental, scalable, profitable business, you would probably not do half the things that we did then. But we are kind of
we just wanted to prove that your product is the best.
Yeah. So when we said customer is the king, give them whatever. We had all sort of ideas around. This is how we're going to shoot our products. This is how our people are going to deliver. We printed a bunch of purple shirts, and they will be hanging around, and you can kind of visualize and a lot of that has happened now, right? I mean, you can see a bunch of people in Swiggy t-shirts or Zomato t-shirts moving around, and we thought we'll similarly. And grofers in those days used to have this orange t-shirt, and they used to move around in that. We said we'll have purple. Purple doesn't look that bad.
How many people were there in Fynd that time?
Less than 20-25.
Yeah.
A very small team, right? We used to work out of a 750 square feet office in Sakinaka. If you know where that is, right? I mean, it's quite like in the middle of the city. But it was a very nice, fun place, right? A small city.
From Nike, right? Just going back a bit, they wanted data. They wanted a POS solution where fulfillment solution wherein the products which are not available in the store. So did you guys end up building that?
Oh yeah, we did.
So does that product still exist?
Of course. Now we're calling it the Fynd Store OS, right? So now we have a full-fledged product suite to cover, your point of sale systems, your endless aisle, and all sort of ways to check out from the store, either by self or you have an app you can scan and walk. So we have a whole product line calling Store OS, and it's deployed in a bunch of places across the country.
So then how did GoFynd.com come into picture, which is not a hyperlocal app anymore? It's a
okay. So now we launched on 20th October 2015, and now we're waiting. All right, and as a company, we have no clue how to market our app, right? And we have no clue what it is. All right, so what first time founders do is they assume if you don't know something, we are going to get experts to help you. And at that point of time, you're almost taking a bet in what they're saying is true and doable. So we hired a marketing team, gave them I think ₹1 crore or something, and so
that time.
Yeah, in that time. So
₹1 crore for a year, for a month.
For a month, he said, okay, that's what you have.
Oh, that's big. We never get this budget anymore.
You got much more.
Okay.
So we said, okay, like you got a month, you got ₹1 crore, get me 1,000 transactions in a month. And we said it's not too tough, 30 transactions per day, how tough can it be?
Was it tough?
Oh yeah, very tough. Right? I mean, very tough. Right? And
because was it also because you were competing with Mintras and Jabongs of the world?
Of course, you're competing everyone. They are spending so much. We don't know too much about it. So, we are naive in thinking, we're going to give away flyers in, stations, and, we will kind of, get it. Or we're going to put inserts in newspapers and we're going to get something. Or we're going to run, Facebook campaigns, and we're getting all sort of these, random cost of installs of some 50-60 rupees. And then we see nothing is happening. People install and uninstall. Our instrumentation is not also in place. For that matter, our order system for a very long time was running on Excel sheets, not even Excel, Google Sheets. Order used to come, then we used to call someone because we couldn't get everything ready in the limited time we had. We started working on the order management system only after the app was live, and there was a team which was sitting and taking orders, calling stores, tag this, someone's going to come. We used to give them preloaded cards, and they used to go and buy those, and we had an operational fleet. So it was quite a mess. It's quite a mess, but we still managed to get. So the interesting part was like till the very end, we had reached only 500 orders, and I messaged Ronak, we need to do something.
Ronak is?
So Ronak used to, Ronak Modi, I think he was the first product manager we had hired for Fynd, and today he runs a lot of things for us, but he was running growth at that point of time for Fynd. I said we need to do something, and I think between him and us, I decided we'll give some massive discount offer.
So this now you transition into the app like an e-commerce platform.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll give an SMS blast of some discount or something like that, and for some strange reason that went viral, and it went to the level viral. I think we gave away 500 rupees per order or something. And I'm in Bangalore. I'm visiting my sister. And the next thing I start seeing that orders are starting to really.
India is a deal-hungry country.
Yeah, and people are like in the same location area, like tons of orders have come, and we probably sold all flip-flops of Nike in the city, right? Because we are in Bombay alone, and that's the level of we realize how internet-enabled distribution can really enable sales in the offline channel. So we were really happy, but next day we really had a problem, right? We had to fund additional some 25 lakh rupees worth of goods to fulfill those 500 orders, and I think we kept our promise and we fulfilled all of them. But then we thought, if we can get that traction and we can kind of show that, we'll be able to raise our next round. But then the goalpost changed, and I think in 2015 a lot of companies got hyper-funded by Tiger Global. In 2016, the mood completely changed.
Right? It was funding winter?
Yeah, that was, I think, the first original funding winter. And then, the asks started changing, right? You need to show us retention, or you need to show us repeat.
Do you think these are buzzwords for VCs? Retention, GMV, or was it actually a true ask?
No, so I think, these are ways of, explaining why they're saying no. Right. I mean, if they can just simply say no, I'm okay with that. We said, you guys are not good enough. You can say that, right? But instead of saying you're not good enough, you'll say, you show us, day 30 retention, or show us your NPS, or we are still talking to your customers and trying to do it. Right? They might be doing it in all good intention, but we know when a yes is going to happen, right?
So was that a time you thought that it's going to shut shop?
So yeah, that is a time when we actually took a hard call. We realized we had to extend our runway, and so we had a board meeting, and Sasha was like, we have to extend the runway. You need more traction to raise your next round, and they said you have to do a layoff. I said it's such a small team. How can I kind of?
What was the team strength that time?
And I think maybe we are like 60-70 people, and we had some 20-25 people in operations. I said we're not going to do a layoff, right? One of the things that I had seen in Opera that we had done was, and this was during the Great Recession, the Great Financial Recession in the US. Said everyone take a pay cut, right? And when things improve, they'll return it. And I said we'll do the same thing over here. Our aim is to increase the runway and decrease our upfront monthly payroll cost. And I said, fine, between the founders, we said we'll not take money till we are able to.
How long did this go?
I think maybe lasted like 4-5 months. Right.
And the team was okay to take a pay cut?
Surprisingly, no one had any such concerns, right?
Do you think they believed in all of you's leadership?
I guess, a lot of them are still around. So I'm guessing they did trust us. So the deal was very simple, right? I mean, the guys who earned more took the bigger cut. Below a certain level, there was no pay cut. And I got people in a room and I told them those words. This is what we want to do. We need more time for transaction. For our raise, we are doing a bunch of conversations with investors, but we need to show them more traction, and real traction, not some 1,000 orders sort of thing. So they asked, and I said, to make it even better, whatever we retain, we will return it back with a 20% additional when we are able to return it. So it was almost like they're lending the money to the company on interest. So so that's what we did, and then we kind of had a campaign. So every year there's a sale period in the middle of the year. So we said we'll capitalize on the end of season sale, and we'll run this massive campaign. I forget what the name of that campaign.
Find loot.
Find loot or something to that effect. And I said and I gave a very ambitious target to the company, saying that we're going to do 1 million 1 million installs, 1 million registered users in one month. And I remember meeting my friend's dad, Ambi Parmeshwaram, and he gave us ideas. You have to, why are you different? Why will people come to you? And he gave a bunch of ideas, and he gave us he gave a recommendation of a big book called Eating the Big Fish, right? So I got the growth team together, and I said, if we can't be number one, right, and there's clear reasons of why we can't be number one, but at least be a number two, which is threatening the big fish, right? So that's what our mentality.
And who was the big fish back then?
Oh, there was Jabong and Myntra and Amazon and Flipkart. I mean, everyone, right? And all of these were like super, unicorns with billions of dollars, and Snapdeal and everyone, right? And people were kind of moving from the electronics category into the fashion category. That was being the next big category for us. So I said, fine, let's start doing that. And our app has also started becoming much better. Our order management systems, where our technology was becoming better. I mean, there's a bunch of re-engineering we did to make ourselves a little more data-driven. We moved away from that marketing mindset to a growth mindset. I probably fired the marketing team twice before I said, this is an engineering problem I brought.
Why do you have so much problems with marketing? So you have traditionally in Fynd, you do not find a marketing team, you have a growth team. Can you put some light on that?
So I think when I was studying about how to go about doing it, so the first time we said, we'll just get a bunch of people who come from marketing colleges, and they'll come and help us market. All they would do is figure out ways to spend the money without giving us any guarantee of the result. And at that time, I was studying all the companies who had got hyper growth in the US. And one of the few things I realized over there was that they were very, data driven, and they were and engineering was core part of growth. And we were seeing growth of, how PayPal cracked growth, or how Airbnb cracked growth, or for that matter, even how Instagram cracked growth on Facebook. There were, almost a scientific way of figuring out, how do we, take customers and convert them. How do we take, installs, make them customers, and make them transact? While a marketing activity is, I'll buy flyers, or I'll buy hoardings, or I'll make, ads. If things happen. If they don't happen, don't happen. So that's when I, brought on a bunch of engineers, a lot of marketing folks. I said, now you guys are all growth, and now, we need to figure out how to do it. I asked them to read multiple books. There was a book called Hooked, which was very important in figuring out how you have to, target the customer. How do you habituate them? How do you make them invest? And how do you, kind of make them do things for you? How do you create those viral loops? And then we figure out, how we want to do marketing. And the only channel we thought at that point of time, and most companies have a big one hack. And for us that time, SMS was that one big hack. We didn't have the money to put on Facebook or buy hoarding. We said, SMS is the channel, and we're going to do a referral campaign. And that's what we did. That's how we cracked.
I think all the people who are watching it Fynd's referral campaign has been so popular that it even landed them in a police station. It even landed them trouble with the cyber crime, Pune, if I remember correctly. Would you like to narrate that story? But
I think that's your story. You did it. I was just a bystander.
But right now I'm just a podcast host, so I cannot tell you my story.
So she sent out, I think, 1 crore SMSs, which went to all sort of people who, when opened the app, even spread it more. And I think the whole of Maharashtra Police, Pune Police got their SMSs, and we were very famous across all these newspapers.
Not in a good way.
And because our short URL used to end with .ng, so it was find.ng or something like that. So they said it's a Nigerian app, And then we were part of a news cycle. We're saying, oh, there's a new app which maliciously take away your contacts and then kind of sends SMSs, and please do not install it. Even though while that news is going on, we are getting like a massive surge of installs. We are getting a massive surge of transactions. And then that's when the cybercrime called asking who are you and what are you doing, and please come and meet them. So we went to Pune and we met them, and we explained what we're doing, and we showed them everything, and we showed logs of users who are doing it. We're not stealing any data, and we are a very genuine company who's doing it. And I think they understood it, and that was the end of it. I mean, it was not as pleasant as I'm making it out to be, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't too much of a kind of explanation that we had to give it, because they kind of understood what we were doing.
So Farooq, we want truth. So we are going to play this game called Truth or Truce. And you have to, when it's a true answer, you have to say the story behind it. And truce is you kind of skip the question.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Okay.
Are you excited?
Very.
Okay. No, it doesn't seem like. All right. So the first question is, your team, your entire team has complained and has asked me to ask this question to you. When does Farooq sleep? We have got messages on Slack at 4 a.m. as well. Though we are not expected to reply, we just want to know what goes on in his mind at 4 a.m.
If there was something pending, only I would have then woken up at 4 to kind of reply. But my day usually starts around 5, 6, right? Rarely would people get it, but 5, 4. But yeah, sometimes they do, because there is something that I need to finish which I couldn't. So the body automatically wakes me up to ensure I do it.
So when does Farooq sleep?
11ish.
Okay. What is Biryani Friday?
Oh, Biryani Friday was a hack we introduced way back in, I think, 2012, 2013, or 2013. So I used to work in the US, and we used to have, Friday lunches, right? And, we used to get catered lunches on Fridays. We said we'll kind of do the same thing when we start our own company. So because we were a small team, and, people would kind of, decide what they want to do. But that whole process was a very time-consuming process. People are sitting and figuring out, what pizzas, how many pizzas, what subways, what type of flavors, and all that nonsense was happening. I said, what is this one universal meal that we can give and it is cost-effective? And then you used to buy these, biryanis by the ton, sort of, these things, and that's what used to happen. And we said Biryani Fridays.
Does it still continue?
I think we still serve biryanis on Fridays, but it doesn't come in the kind of manner it used to come, because it was to be locally made by these local caterers, and used to get it, and everyone looked forward to it.
Truth or Truce finds culture is the most important thing for Farooq Adam.
True.
It is more important than anything, any other thing, or how do you describe it?
Culture drives everything. Culture drives innovation. Culture drives output. Culture drives happiness. Culture drives everything, right? I mean, we are a bunch of people who are trying to do something, right? Without people, there is no company, right? I mean, servers do not run the company. In
our previous interviews with people from your team, the head of engineering said that Farooq doesn't listen to anyone. He just goes and pitches things, and then all the traffic and all the सारा काम उन पे आ जाता है. वो बहुत ज़्यादा परेशान हो जाते हैं because Farooq doesn't listen. How true is that?
You need a madman. I am that madman.
But madman, do you see whether emotionally the person is being hurt? Do you give breaks to your head of engineers or?
Oh yeah, of course. We have a construct of workation. I mean, we actually take people out for a week or so that they can decompress. While on that vacation, of course, you work, but it's also a large bonding activity. Right?
Do people actually work in vacations?
They pretend to, at least, I feel.
Do you keep a check of it?
After a certain point, we could.
When is Farooq Adam going to stop saying added to review?
I mean, as long as people keep sending it, I don't think I'll ever stop that.
Does Farooq Adam actually read all the documents that are being sent?
Yeah, absolutely. So what added to review is, so that everyone understand it, I just save it on Slack. And then when I wake up early in the morning, that's the first thing I do. I try to clear that saved list, right? So added to review is just so that they know that it is going to get reviewed. Sometimes, people get response maybe a month later. But if it is added to review, you will get a response.
Do you keep a check, or do you trust people to do their job?
So, I mean, that's where, kind of culture comes in, right? I mean, we give enormous amount of freedom. There are a bunch of things that we do, right? We set your goals, we set our ambitions, and we let teams figure out the right path to go about doing it, right? And we review it constantly so that we ensure that we're not going to be massively missing the mark when the year ends. And that's what we do, right? We run ourselves as a very methodical company, right? But we do not spend too much amount in giving presentations to management, or making these big planning meetings and so on and so forth. And that way we are kind of very fluid in our execution, but we are very set on what the output that we want is.
Farooq in 2012 versus Farooq in 2024. Three key differences.
White hair.
White hair.
I'm a father now. And I don't think I'm wiser, but fatter.
What makes Farooq Adam angry? At work.
Oh, I think I wrote a note also. What makes me angry? I think sloppy work is probably at the top of that list. Not giving simple answers is another one. And when you don't know, you just say that, right? And
if you are sitting as a person who wants to get funding from Farooq, what is the one thing that you should do perfectly?
So, same thing, right? I mean, when I'm looking at investing in companies, I look at if the team has innate mission for the problem, right? You might not have all the technical knowledge. You might not even have the right team to do it. But unless you're very mission oriented for that problem, you're not going to stick around for too long, right? I mean, you're going to last as long as your funding round lasts. During COVID, I went about investing in a lot of companies. But what I wasn't able to do then, because all of these were kind of Zoom calls, Google Meet calls, I couldn't really read the pulse of those people. Now I insist I meet them in person, get a sense of why they're doing what they're doing, and if those basic checks of is the team, is the market ready, we write that small check.
Do you ever think of leaving Fynd?
And do what?
That's my question to you.
No, I don't think so. This is a mission
that continues. If you had to pitch your brand or pitch Fynd to a VC today, what would your pitch be? And you have like 30 seconds.
Oh, we are building the world's largest multi-tech platform which spans between commerce, finance, gaming. Bet on us to become this large mammoth.
Well, I would give him funding. What do you guys think? How did Reliance happen?
Okay, so in 2017, we got Google interested in us, and we did our Series C with Google in 2018, maybe April, May. That's when.
Was Google investing in an Indian company for the first time?
I think between us and Dunzo, we were kind of
okay.
A few. They might have done a few other deals, but we were one of the few earlier deals between Dunzo and us. We were funded by Google Incorporated, one of the few companies then. And again, then it was right. We had access to store data that we can use to power different things on Google Shopping, Google Ads, Google Search, a bunch of things. So that's how we kind of went about doing it. And I think in 2018, after that Series C round, Harsh was invited by Gen Next Ventures to present to them about Fynd. So he said he's going to pitch about the Fynd culture. So that presentation landed on Mukesh Ambani sir's desk, and he asked his team to meet us, and that's how we met them.
So how was it meeting Mukesh Ambani? I think this is something that we all want to know.
So I didn't meet him during the deal. We met him after the deal was done, and after many months after the deal was done, and we had already started working. And one fine day we get a call saying MD sir or Mukesh Ambani sir wants to meet us. So we have to go to Maker. I said, fine, let's go about meeting. We had done a lot of our initial deal meetings in Maker, so we're kind of familiar with the lay of the building. So we reached over there and we were sitting, and that's when he walks in. And I think it was the most.
Were you intimidated by that? Were you like scared?
Yeah, of course we were nervous, right? I mean, who would not be, right? I mean, so the odd thing is, right, when you meet someone very famous, right, it almost feels as if you know them. right? And because you've seen their face and right, and you kind of recognize, oh, right? And then he met us, and he was very happy to meet us. So we had a fascinating few hours with him, and it was a very free flowing, whiteboarding. We're discussing how we're going to bring technology that we've built at Fynd, and how we're going to use the scale of Reliance and Reliance Retail specifically, and how we can create the largest the retail tech platform, the retail tech company. And I think at all times, what we felt, our vision, our scale is so small to compare to how they think, and it was an eye opener for us. It was a real eye opener for us. In the end, I asked him, sir, I have one question. He said, "Haan, pucho, sir, we want a photo with you." He said, "Come, we'll take photo with Papa." And then we went to the office, which is the actual Dhirubhai Ambani sir's office, and there's a portrait over there. We stood next to that photo. We took that photo. There was the IPL trophy over there, and it was one of those offices where he showed me this was his glasses, and we still have kept it there. And then kind of shows everything has history of how it was created, and all you need to do is keep at it.
So, small boy from Kuwait traveling to India, figuring out his ways around the world, around the lanes of India, and then meeting one of the richest man of the world. Was it a humbling experience, or did you ever think you would be here at this position?
I come sometimes look back and where we are, and how small incidences have led to where we are. It's a real mystery, right? And to the question earlier, right? Luck has played a big role, right? I mean, we always imagine, we'll do something like this, right? But in the back of our mind, we imagine it'll never happen, right? I mean, we know it's not going to happen, right? But when things like these keep happening, you kind of really believe, right? Anything is possible. And if it happens a few times, you kind of get that sense of, anything is possible, right? I know for a fact there will be a time when we will be working with governments. So I know for a fact we'll be working with world leaders. It's just a matter of time.
So, Farooq, a lot of people in the company and outside that I've spoken to told me that Fynd सिर्फ Reliance के लिए काम करता है. So, what do you have to say on that? And the haters, right, who never thought you guys are going to be here, do you have any message for them?
So, the first question, I think that's not true, right? We work with pretty much all retailers of all sizes, of all formats in this country, right? I mean, we are selling, a point of sale system to a local store. We are giving an e-commerce platform to the first time entrepreneur, and of course we are providing all the technology to the largest retailer of the country and one of the largest retailers of the world. So our technology spectrum covers all of it. And we're not only providing e-commerce technology, we're providing you embedded finance, we're providing you gaming, we're providing everything. So as a company, we cater to everyone. Now, to the point, haters going to hate. I think no one can say it better than Taylor.
Does it affect you?
No.
All right. You have 2 play cards. All you have to do is say, I have or I haven't. Never, right?
Sure.
Okay. So the first question, I'm going to begin easy. Invested in a product and regretted later.
Yeah.
Use Google to search for Gen Z terms.
Uh-huh.
Recommended a book without reading it. Dude, he recommends a lot of books to everyone in the company. He doesn't read it. Just saying. Putting it out there. Forgotten someone's name and still had a full-blown conversation with them.
I have.
Fired someone because you were in a bad mood. So one last question before we end. How diplomatic were you in this entire conversation with behind closed doors? On a scale of 1 to 5.
Not too diplomatic. I was very simple, sincere.
We need a score.
4.
4. Okay. 4 diplomatic. Okay. So he was quite diplomatic.
Anyway.
Oh, no.
Honestly,
no, that you said and it's recorded now. So, thank you so much, Farooq, for coming and sharing insights about your life. It has been wonderful. And I think all the people who are watching, it's not easy building a company. It's definitely not easy letting people go. But little birdie told us that baklava is your favorite. So this is for you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for coming. That's a wrap.
Thank you.
Yay! Last time bola tha na, kiya ki nahi. Just do it, guys. Just go and like and subscribe and share. I mean, here you're sitting and getting great insights from people who are building things, breaking things, and doing illegal stuff as well. So go to Behind Closed Doors, like our podcast, subscribe to our channel, and stay tuned for the next episode.